The financial revolution? You're not supposed to see forget the hype coins. Forget the meme coins while the retail crowd is distracted chasing 10x dreams from dog-themed tokens. A 10 trillion transformation is quietly unfolding right underneath their feet. And the one asset most positioned to benefit XLM. But you wouldn't know that if you only followed the headlines. You see, the mainstream narrative is a circus. 1 minute, it's about ETFs. The next, it's courtroom drama with XRP, then it's TikTok influencers shilling vaporware projects that haven't even launched a beta. Meanwhile, Stellar is building something real, something foundational, not just a blockchain, not just a payment layer, but an entire financial operating system, one that's already being tested, integrated and deployed by central banks, NOSs, fintechs, and infrastructure-grade players around the world. This isn't some future roadmap fantasy. This is now, right now. XLM is becoming the invisible engine behind humanitarian aid, global money transfers, compliant DeFi, and even central bank digital currencies. And yet the average investor has no idea why, because Stellar doesn't play the hype game. It doesn't drop buzzword-filled announcements every week to boost price. It doesn't rely on speculation to justify its value. It relies on execution, quiet, relentless, institutional-grade execution. And here's the part that will blow your mind as you watch this. Real CBDC pilots are running on Stellar rails. Humanitarian relief is being deployed via Stellar Aid Assist. Fiat to crypto on off-ramps are live through MoneyGram in over 180 countries. Smart contract automation is live on mainnet through Sorben. Not coming soon already here. These aren't pipe dreams. They're operational, they're scaling, and they're using XLM at the core. Think about that. While everyone obsesses over charts and tries to catch the next meme pump, Stellar is laying the rails for an entirely new financial system, one that's compliant, interoperable, and already trusted by legacy players. This isn't just another altcoin narrative. This is the infrastructure layer. The new financial system is being built on. And here's the punchline. The market hasn't priced any of it in why. Because Stellar doesn't make noise. It doesn't chase headlines. It moves silently, aligning with regulators, embedding into institutional frameworks, and executing deals that never even hit crypto Twitter. And that's exactly what makes it dangerous for anyone sleeping on it. This is the accumulation phase before the awareness catches up, before the crowd realizes that XLM isn't trying to disrupt the system. It's already inside it. And if you want to be ahead of that moment, not chasing it, make sure you're subscribed to Be Crypto Smart. We don't do fluff, we do facts. We dig beneath the surface to uncover the assets actually being used by institutions, not just the ones trending, because this shift, it's already underway. Let's break it down. Everyone keeps asking when mass adoption. But what if the real question is, why hasn't anyone noticed it already happened? Because while crypto Twitter waits for some mythical flood of institutions and Ethereum devs hold hackathons about future financial primitives, Stellar's already deployed real-world infrastructure that's solving billion-dollar problems in silence. Let's start with Pelago Labs, and no, this isn't just another DeFi startup riding the hype cycle. Pelago is building real trade finance infrastructure on-chain with the backing of the Stellar Development Foundation. But here's the kicker. This isn't another Uniswap clone, and it's not some Ponzi wrapped in a liquidity pool. Palo is building for global supply chains, bringing tokenized invoices, digital letters of credit, underwriters, asset originators, and institutional-grade financing onto blockchain rails. We're talking about solving a $1.7 trillion global trade finance gap, a gap that literally holds back economic growth in emerging markets, restricts credit access and bottlenecks entire industries, and Pelago's not theorizing. They're doing it with production-grade logic on Stellar with Sora smart contracts powering automation compliance and real-world data. Oracle's not speculation that alone should have everyone leaning forward, because this is the kind of utility that Ethereum devs write white papers about, but Stellar's actually shipping it with enterprise partners now. And that's just the first domino, because on the other end of the spectrum, ***, from capital markets to humanitarian Aryan aid ***, Stellar is already live in crisis zones delivering real-time financial relief to real people, where no other system can enter Stellar Aid Assist. This isn't a charity demo. This isn't a pilot in a testnet sandbox. This is live capital deployment coordinated by the United Nations, High Commissioner for Refugees, the International Rescue Committee, and other major humanitarian organizations, using USDC on Stellar to bypass broken, corrupt, or non-existent financial infrastructure. Why does that? Why does that matter? Because when your banking system is shattered by war or economic collapse, you don't need an app. You need a trustless, programmable, low-cost way to get dollars to the ground fast. And Stellar did it right now. A refugee in Ukraine or a displaced family in Yemen can receive aid in seconds, not weeks. They can cash out at MoneyGram, spend instantly, or hold their funds securely, all with just a phone number and a Stellar wallet. That's not theory, that's real-world usage. And once again, XLM is right in the middle of it. The implications are massive, because this isn't DeFi for Deans. This is compliant, institutional-grade finance for the real world. From trade finance to disaster relief, Stellar is proving that blockchain isn't just for speculation. It's for infrastructure, it's for inclusion, and it's for institutions. And here's what's even more wild. Most of the market still thinks Stellar is just a low-fee payment chain. But behind the scenes, the rails are expanding, the use cases are multiplying, and the smart contract layer is live, ready for scale, compliant by design, and fully integrated with partners that matter. Meanwhile, Ethereum still charges you $50. To mint a meme, NFT Stellar is distributing life-saving capital with zero friction. Let that sink in, from multi-trillion-dollar trade finance to life and death, humanitarian deployment. Stellar isn't just theorizing about adoption, it's executing, and the fuel behind it all. XLM used for gas, used in liquidity pools, used as the connective tissue between partners' protocols and payment endpoints. And yet none of this is priced in, because no one's telling this story. That's why you need to be locked into Be Crypto Smart, where we cut through the fluff and expose the assets that are actually building the next financial system. Not just pretending, because once the market wakes up to what Stellar has already deployed, everything changes, everyone agrees. Smart contracts are the future of finance. But here's what no one's admitting. Most blockchains built them backwards. Ethereum designed for maximal decentralization. First, then spent years trying to bolt on compliance, Solana fast and cheap. But enterprise-grade transparency, practically an afterthought. Even newer chains still treat regulators and institutional risk teams like some optional aftermarket feature. But Soraban was built for institutions from line 1 of code. This isn't a fork. This isn't a layer 2. Work out, this is a clean slate smart contract platform embedded directly into Stellar's L1 and engineered with compliance, auditability, and real-world regulatory constraints baked into its DNA. Let that sink in. While most blockchains obsess over performance metrics, Sorbonne flipped the script: performance with compliance, speed without sacrificing transparency, programmability with audit trails. We're talking native hooks for KYC and identity verification, permissioning layers that allow institutions to control who can interact with specific contracts, built-in auditability, so that regulators and internal compliance teams can trace flows, verify outcomes, and sleep at night. This isn't the Wild West. This is Wall Street-compatible infrastructure, ready for banks, asset managers, credit issuers, underwriters, and payment providers. And here's the part that will blow your mind. Soraban is already live on mainnet, not alpha. Not a white paper. Live smart contracts are being deployed right now, and developers are building real use cases on top of it, from tokenized trade credit and programmable stablecoin flows to risk-adjusted lending protocols. Now here's where the puzzle pieces click, because Soraban isn't operating in a vacuum. It's the final component of a full-stack financial system that Stellar has quietly assembled behind the scenes: fiat on off-ramps through MoneyGram, and a global web of anchors, deep integration with regulated stablecoins like USDC and EURC natively without bridges, and now compliant smart contracts for automation, settlement, and asset issuance. That's not just an ecosystem, that's a regulatory compliant DeFi operating system, one that plugs directly into the traditional financial world without breaking it. Think about that. While Ethereum still argues about whether staking is a security and debates L2 censorship resistance, Stellar is giving real enterprises a toolkit they can actually use, not to speculate, to operate. And that's why this matters, because the institutions that are quietly evaluating blockchain infrastructure aren't picking based on memes or market cap. They're asking, can we meet compliance requirements? Can we scale without breaking? Can we build without exposing ourselves to regulatory nightmares? And Sora answers all three with a resounding Yes, here's what the market still doesn't get. The next bull run won't just be driven by hype, it'll be driven by adoption, and that adoption will flow to platforms that can survive audits, integrate with legacy finance, and scale to trillions without imploding. So when regulators come knocking and enter, clients need transparency, and the next trillion-dollar use case demands programmable money that plays by the rules. They're not going to Ethereum, they're not going to Solana, they're going to Stellar because Sora makes institutional grade smart contracts not just possible, but practical. And the best part, no one's pricing this in not retail, not even the crypto VCs still chasing vaporware. But you see it because you're here and because you're subscribed to Be Crypto Smart, where we don't chase hype, we spotlight undervalued infrastructure with real adoption, real partners, and real world impact. So remember this in a market flooded with noise. Compliance is the signal. And Sora is the only smart contract platform built to speak that language fluently right now, while the rest of the market is glued to headlines about ETF approvals and meme coin pumps. Something way bigger is happening behind the curtain. Institutions are already moving on-chain. And Stellar, it's not just part of that shift, it's quietly becoming the default infrastructure for it. Let's start with what's already live. MoneyGram, yes. The global remittance giant is using Stellar to settle real-time USDC payments across more than 180 countries. That's not a test. That's not a pilot. That's live end-to-end fiat, crypto fiat movement without the delays, costs, or gatekeeping of legacy banking. And guess what? XLM is the native gas making those transfers happen, but that's just the surface. Franklin Templeton, one of the world's largest asset managers, is tokenizing money market funds on Stellar. Not on Ethereum, not on Solana, on Stellar. Because when it comes to regulated asset issuance, custody, and compliance, Stellar checks every box. It's fast, it's cheap, and it's built for financial grade integrity. And then there's the Ukrainian government in the middle of a geopolitical crisis partnered with the Stellar Development Foundation to explore a central bank digital currency, CBDC. Why? Because Stellar's architecture is uniquely suited for sovereign grade monetary systems, transparent, programmable, and resilient under stress. But now we're entering the next phase, and this is where it gets even more strategic. Enter Eon Stellar's new flagship wallet. But don't let the word wallet fool you. Eon is a secure self-custodial smart vault engineered for both individuals and institutions. Think of it like the Apple-level user experience for blockchain finance. Intuitive enough for everyday users, secure enough for enterprise-grade custody, compliant enough for regulated capital flows. This isn't a throwaway product. Eon is a Trojan horse quietly onboarding users into a Stellar-powered ecosystem with institutional rails baked in. While MetaMask is still trying to get retail to stop falling for phishing scams, Eon is being optimized for compliance, recovery, privacy, and control at scale. And here's where the disconnect becomes glaring. Most retail investors still treat XLM like a cheap XRP, like some forgotten altcoin that might moon off hype. But that's not the game. Stellar is playing, this is infrastructure, the same way AWS powers the internet quietly in the background. Stellar is positioning itself as the back-end layer of the new financial system. But make no mistake, the institutions see it. They're not aping into meme coins. They're allocating slowly and quietly into infrastructure that can actually support the future of money. That's why the price hasn't moved yet, because institutional capital accumulates before the narrative flips, before the retail rush. Before YouTubers start screaming, XLM is the new XRP, and when that moment comes, it won't be gradual. It won't be a slow grind. It will be violent because all the infrastructure is already there. Real-world payments through MoneyGram tokenized assets with Franklin Templeton, government-level partnerships for CBDCs, a flagship wallet, tailored for both enterprise and everyday users. Sorbin smart contracts live on mainnet native access to compliant stablecoins like USDC and EURC. This isn't future potential. This present-day execution, and that's exactly why the smart money is paying attention. Because the moment that awareness tips from early institutional adoption to mainstream recognition, XLM won't be a penny coin anymore. It'll be a critical piece of global finance. And if you're holding before that flip gets switched, you're not just early, you're positioned. Let's address the elephant in the room. Why isn't XLM at $1 or $3 or $10? If the fundamentals are this strong, if the integrations are live, And if institutions are already using Stellar in the background, why isn't the price reflecting any of it? Simple? Because Stellar doesn't play the game the way crypto Twitter expects. It doesn't chase hype cycles, it doesn't sponsor influencers. It doesn't shill itself at every conference or slap its logo on Formula One cars. Instead, Stellar does something most chains forgot how to do it: builds quietly, relentlessly, with purpose. And for most retail investors trained to respond to shiny narratives, that's con few. Sing! There's no flashy marketing, no VC funded pump, no ETH killer theatrics. But underneath that calm surface, Stellar's fundamentals are compounding fast. Let's break it down. You've got a layer one that finalizes transactions in 3 to 5 seconds, not theoretical throughput. Real production tested finality with fees so low they barely register. That means global money movement at internet speed for fractions of a cent. You've got built-in compliance tooling, not add-ons, not third-party workarounds. We're talking core protocol features that support KYC hooks, regulated asset issuance, auditability, and enterprise permissioning. This is the infrastructure TRDFI actually needs, not just what DeFi wants. You've got live integrations with MoneyGram, Circle, USDC, Franklin Templeton, and governments exploring CBDCs. Not hypotheticals, not white papers. Live on chain right now. You've got Sorbonne smart contracts on mainnet delivering programmable automation without sacrificing compliance or security. It's a developer-friendly, enterprise-viable smart contract layer that solves for the things Ethereum is still trying to retrofit after the fact. And perhaps most overlooked, Stellar's tokenomics are brutally disciplined. No VC dumping events, no monthly token unlocks, no stealth inflation. XLM has a fixed supply, deflationary burn mechanics, and zero tolerance for speculative dilution. That's not just rare in crypto, it's practically unheard of in a top-tier protocol. So back to the question, why hasn't the market priced this in yet? Because crypto still mistakes silence for weakness. Because the loudest narratives get the attention, even when they're backed by vaporware. But here's the thing, the market always corrects. Maybe not today, maybe not this month. But when the pivot happens, when infrastructure compliance and enterprise traction become the metrics that matter, XLM won't move gradually. It will re-rate violently, resistance zones, they'll vaporize in a single weekly candle sentiment. It'll flip from altcoin to how did we miss this? Because the truth is, Stellar has been shipping institutional-grade infrastructure while the market was distracted, while influencers were memeing dog coins. Stellar was building humanitarian payment rails with the UN closing the trade finance gap, with Palo Labs rolling out compliant DeFi architecture, with Sorbonne powering self-custody wallets like Eon for secure regulated adoption. And the people who've been paying attention, they're not surprised. They're positioned, they saw through the noise. They understood that true value occurs to the rails, not the hype. So when XLM finally moves, and it won't be because of a tweet. It'll be because the infrastructure is undeniable. It'll be because institutions flip the switch, and by then the window to get in early will have already closed. Don't sleep on XLM. This is the accumulation phase. Let the crowd chase hype. Let them FOMO into coins that moon and crash. Meanwhile, XLM is quietly embedding itself into the plumbing of the new financial system. CBDCs, on-chain trade finance cross-border settlements, regulated DeFi. This isn't a narrative. It's already happening. The institutions are already moving. The rails are already built. And if you're paying attention now, you're early, so don't let the price fool. You don't let the silence scare you. That silence is just the calm before the breakout. If you found this breakdown valuable, hit subscribe to be crypto smart. We cut through the noise and bring you what the rest of crypto media ignores, because the smart money doesn't chase the noise. It follows the infrastructure. XLM is that infrastructure. And now,